So we'll call the meeting to order. Today is the work session of the Billings City Council. This is June 16th. Roll call. So Denise, would you call the roll call?
Yes, Deputy Councilmember Shaw, Gulick, Neese, Rogers, Owen,
She's on her way.
Kennedy, Aspenlider, Tidswell, Boyette,
Here.
Repsis.
With that done, administrative reports from Chris. And excuse me, but I see council members Kennedy and Owen showing up.
Okay, there we go. Now we got it. I'll let these guys get seated and then.
Deputy Mayor, just to point out, you announced this as a work session. This is actually this special meeting.
Special meeting agenda.
Which is a business session.
You're correct.
Special.
You did good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So tonight's special meeting was called by council members Gulick, Aspenlider, and Kennedy after the letter the city received from the elections administrator. So I'll read that letter brief. It's very short. And that's essentially why we're here in this special meeting before our work session later tonight. So this is from Yellowstone County Election Administrator, KV Aldrich, in accordance with Montana Code Annotated 13-14-115. She's determined that the September 9, 2025 municipal primary election for City of Billings will not be held due to lack of candidates. The statute specifically lays out how many candidates automatically trigger a primary. The following offices are affected: mayor, the office of city council for wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Billings municipal court judge. However, the governing body may still require that a primary election be held for a nonpartisan office if it passes a resolution not more than 10 days after the close of the filing. Filing closed today. This is dated June 11th. So hence the essential nature to have this special meeting to be responsive if the council chooses to request the primary. So there's that. There is a closed reminder, a closed executive session immediately following this session to receive an update from our city attorney regarding ongoing litigation or litigation issues. And then there was no ex parte communication that came in after 3 o'clock today. Deputy Mayor, that's all that I have.
Thank you. At this point, we have public comment on non-public hearing on items 1, which is our agenda tonight. Is there anyone that would like to speak about this tonight? Come forward. The podium's right here. You have, please give us your name and address and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Clementine Lindley. I reside at 3801 Warbonnet Trail in Ward 4, and I am just urging each of you to vote to continue the election to the general election as the elections officials have already recommended. I just hope that you guys follow that. I think that the people of Billings know who and what they want to have represent them, and I think the more choices they have offered to them to do that, the better it will be for them.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? This is your opportunity. Please come forward, name and address, keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Max Arvanitas. I live at 3653 Fort Laramie Drive. I'm commenting to say that we should avoid a primary mainly because of financial concerns. The more money we save as a city is the more money we can give back to our citizens, our constituents, your guys' constituents. And honestly, I think wasting all that money on a primary election is frankly not really good for our city when we're already dealing with a huge deficit crisis.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? This is your opportunity. Public comment? Anybody else? Last chance. Okay, we'll close the public comment. Item number 1, special agenda. Denise, can you read it for us, please?
Resolution requiring or canceling a municipal primary election on September 9th, 2025.
And before we start, I'd like to say that there's been discussion among the council members that there could be a conflict of interest for council members, especially in the 2 wards and the mayor's race, for voting. And I've asked Gina Dahl, our city attorney, to be here to, can you give us your opinion on this subject?
Sure. Thank you, Council and Deputy Mayor. It's my opinion, this question was posed to me from several different angles, and I took the weekend to give it some thought and get some feedback from some other attorneys in my office, just because there seemed to be some varying opinions on council. It's my opinion that this issue, this kind of a vote does not pose a conflict of interest for council members. It does not fall within any of the definitions that are outlined in city code or state law for a private or personal interest or a financial interest. This is simply calling for an election, which the outcome of which could be interpreted to be beneficial or detrimental, depending on how you look at it. And it's my opinion that this type of a vote, this type of considering an issue is just part of council's public duty to vote on all agenda items.
Thank you. This meeting, we're, council member Nees.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Kevin, do you know what the cost is to run the election, the primary?
So Councilmember Neese, I think the initial estimate is right around $100,000.
100,000. Thank you.
So this, I wanted to make sure we finish this by 4:30 since we do have a closed session. So my thought is to go around, give everyone one chance to speak and then have a vote. Does that sound reasonable, everybody? Thumbs up? So where do we want to start? Councilman Kennedy, you want to start, please? Okay. Okay. Next. Okay, this is for discussion. Councilman Nees. You want to turn your mic on?
Thank you. Sorry, I was too comfortably just discussing. Yeah, I think that we need to consider what the state has come up with as far as how to run elections, and this is how they've come up with it. The county interpreted correctly. I think Gene is correct, and we need to take a vote on it if we want to spend that extra $100,000. I don't like the idea of spending $100,000. It's almost equal what one officer would be on the street for a year, and so I think I would like to see that extra $100,000 moved over to public safety, especially police, because one of the things I've noticed in there, and I'm still working on the numbers, is I've seen the personnel services go down 100,000 in the police, and so I'd like to make sure we fully fund the police personnel line.
Senator Aspenlider.
I'm a yes on a primary. I am no fan of a jungle election, particularly when we're electing the leader of our city. The thought that the next mayor of the city of Billings could be elected with less than 50% and not even 50%, far less than 50% of the electorate, I think is the wrong message to send. I don't think that builds inherent confidence from the electorate or from this body that we got the right person. Jungle elections historically produce the weakest of candidates. And I think it is worth our time, it's worth our money, and it's worth our investment to make sure that the citizens of our city have a clear choice between the top 2 candidates and that we elect the mayor of this city, the leader of this city, with a over 50% majority. Anything under that, to me, I think minimizes the support for that position. I think it minimizes the backing, and it creates inherent question of whether the people truly did fully elect that person or not. So I'm a hard yes on this. I think it's worth the investment to make sure that we have a 2-candidate choice in the general election.
Councilmember Rogers.
think this is a hard one. I absolutely hear and agree with a lot of what Councilmember Aspenleiter said. I would be a no, mainly because of fiscal responsibility. I am really concerned with spending $100,000 on something that will be revoted on with another $100,000 a few months later, especially when we've been struggling so hard with all the different ways we've been working to reduce the budget. I would be a no.
Councilmember Shaw.
I agree, it's a tough one. I'm struggling with the mayoral election in particular because a four-way race I don't love. But also candidly, I'm really tired of being lectured by this body about cutting the budget. And so putting those two things together is, I'm having a hard time with it right now. So I'd like to hear what everybody else thinks.
Councilmember Gulick.
Initially, I was thinking that wanted a primary. Then I reflected that when we have other elections, presidential, gubernatorial, most congressional races, they have three or four candidates often in them. And then I started thinking about the $100,000. We need to put it maybe in reserve for a potential spring levy vote, because if we don't have a spring levy vote, we're going to need the $100,000 for the next budget. We're going to need those reserves. So, yeah, for that reason, I think.
Councilmember Owen.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to belabor the point too much. I'm a no. I think the fiscal issues are serious. I think that it's incumbent upon candidates in every election to work hard to gain a majority, and I think that's up to the public to decide. So I would rather err on the side of fiscal responsibility. It is, I think as Councilmember Rogers mentioned, a month between the end of the primary and what would be the start of the general. So I would rather us do exactly what Councilmember Gulick is saying and plan for the future. So I'll be a no tonight.
Councilmember Repsis.
Yeah, I struggled with on this too. I think when first presented with the option, I probably leaned against it. I'm going to go ahead and support a primary as one of those least qualified candidates who came through a jungle election. There were three of us last time. Dan was in that situation as well. I didn't get a lot of confidence that I came in with a real understanding of what people voted for and why. So 3 is hard enough. If you do that with 4, I have no idea. I think the mayor is a race where 4 is too many. I could probably support skipping a primary if there were only 3, but at 4, I think we need to give the voters a clear choice between 2 candidates. So I'd probably support this with a resolution that just focuses on the mayor and doesn't save us any money, but I think the 2-3-way word is probably not as important. I also want to say, Gina, I appreciate you putting all that thought into it, but I can't imagine a situation where we would be in asked to make a vote where our own personal interests were so wrapped up with the topic that there is a perception of integrity here, and whether or not you should put yourself in a position where your personal standing is so affected by the outcome. I think it would have been wise for the 3 candidates to kind of recuse themselves from this conversation. I understand where Gina came from. I get it. Yeah, the law doesn't say we have to, but I think the perception is there, and it probably would have been wise to step aside anyway. That being said, it doesn't look like it's going to pass, but I would support a primary just for the mayor.
Thank you. So I'm the last one to talk, and I'll say, yes, it's very difficult. I understand the mentality of 4 people running could be a real mess, but at the same time, $100,000 is a lot of money. So with that, any other briefly?
Deputy Mayor, the only thing I would say is this is something the legislative committee can work on during the next session and look at other alternatives like ranked voting that we can maybe utilize to prevent this type of thing from happening in the future, where we can actually then, if you do have multiples, the ranking voting will actually take care of that issue.
Councilmember Kennedy, did you wish to say something?
Yes, I will. As Councilmember Aspenleiter said, it's when you get 4 people into a race, it becomes really congested and everything. If I would have voted on this last week, I probably would have voted yes. I got a lot of calls this weekend, and a lot of calls were more concerned about not spending money on an election, but spending money on the police. And that came out loud and clear. I served 3 events on Saturday, and I was kind of doing my own poll and finding out what was going to go on. The number one thing I heard is, would you please spend your money with the police? And so at this time, I'm going to have to look at sending money to go and use this money towards the police.
That said, I think it's time for a vote. Everybody understand what the question is? Oh, we need a motion. Is anybody going to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a
Councilmember Neese.
motion that we follow the county's guidance of not holding a primary election.
Second. Discussion. Okay, those in favor of the motion not to hold the primary, please say yes. Okay. Those opposed? So we have 2 opposing, Councilman Repsis and Councilman and Aspenleiter. So with that, it passes. That concludes this one. There's public comment on non-agenda items. Does anyone like to say, at this point, you can say anything you want. It's free game, folks. Anybody want to say anything? Okay. If not, that means this meeting is concluded. But don't run away.